Hi friends, it's Darcy with Nightcap Crafting. I'm back after a little break and I thought I would come and show you something fun I've been working on and playing with. First things first, Nightcap, Moscow Mule. If you watched my other stickers video I recorded just before this, so you'll know that's the drink of choice for tonight. And I will also say, I'll leave a link below to my inspiration for making these dictionary page pockets for, I'm using them for journaling cards, but you could certainly put whatever in there, photos. So Crafty Hodges did a video for the friendship zines, and she made these darling little pockets out of parchment paper, I think it was, and that got me kind of thinking, what could I use to make little pockets out of that I could use in my Fobonichi? And I have this dictionary from 1997, I checked, was the published date on it. I can't remember the last time I've used a paper dictionary, and it's, let's face it, it's outdated. But it has great paper. It has thin, lovely paper. So I thought I would try that because it also won't add a whole lot of bulk to my journal, which is already really fat and can't fit hardly anything else in it. So I experimented the other day. Here's an up close shot with the card in it. I experimented with different ways or different types of mediums, whatever, paints and stuff I could put on there. So these are ones I was playing with. This is watercolor markers actually on that. This one's stamped with pigment ink and dye ink. I don't remember which one that is. But I also tested out the new Distress Oxide inks because I was just wondering, how wet can you get this paper? Really, I've never played around with it, and it really doesn't bleed and wrinkle and crinkle as much as I thought it would. I was actually really surprised. I was just kind of smushing it on, and these were wet, like soaking wet. Then I played with some watercolors, and these are just a really super inexpensive set. I got at Michael's for like $5 for one of those big sets. They're really chalky, but they come in pretty colors and they're kind of fun to play with. So I was just seeing how wet I could get the paper, and you can see, I mean, look at that. It really doesn't bleed through. I was experimenting with like an ombre effect or something like that. So these are my experiments. Oh, and I used acrylic paint too. So I just smeared on, just as a test, with like a, what do you call it? Like a credit card scraper. Look at that. Acrylic paint. You can hardly see it through it on the other side. See it through the other side, I mean. I don't know. Maybe I'm just the only one that's blown away by this, but I thought, cool, okay, this gives me options. I still like the watercolor best because you can still see the print through the paints. Oh, this one I didn't do with the cheapo watercolors. This one I did with my trusty Prima marketing set. So what I thought I would do tonight is do a page. I think I'm gonna just do like a simple little like fish doodle with seaweed on it or something, and then show you how I fold the paper, and voila. And then it's up to you to use your imagination with however you want to use it. So now, let me warn you, I don't measure anything. I'm using just my eyeballs for all this, so if you're a person that likes actual measurements for things, can't help you there. You're just gonna have to fly by the seat of your pants, I guess. So without further ado, let's get this party started. Just really keeping it real here with this coffee mug versus those really classy those copper mugs that they traditionally come in. I should really just get one. So just gonna tear a page out of here. Let me tell you, the first time I pulled the page out of here, it really, it pained me. I felt really bad about it. But then I was like, really, who cares? This thing is just gonna go in the recycling bin. Otherwise, might as well get some use out of it. So let's see, what colors do I want to use? Yeah, I'll just use these ones. Got my water brush. Now, what I was thinking, see, I just kind of doodled, like with this one, I just doodled all over a page, and then so that way, after it got folded, it was kind of, not that you're gonna see the back anyway if it's taped in your journal, but just gives it a little more of an organic effect, I guess, having it partially cut off versus, you know, everything perfectly neatly on there like these other ones I was playing with. And you can notch it. I notched this because a scallop punch was the only one I had that would fit in here, and I used one in my journal, and it's actually kind of hard to get the, what did I put in there? I think I put in, I put in like a piece of copy paper that was folded up. It's kind of a pain in the neck to get in and out, so maybe either leave the back or don't notch it, or you can use a little tab. A friend gave me this in Happy Mail, a little tag to attach to the top of your card, so it's easier to pull in and out. I digress. Anyway, so let's start with some blue. Got to make sure I know which one I'm dipping in here when I flip it around. I'm gonna do little, can you see? Okay. Just fish. The beginnings of fish. I don't think I'm gonna get much fancier than that, really. Because who cares, right? You can tell they're fish. Or do I want to do, no, I'll keep them like that. Oh, I know what I can do. What I found was I probably need about, you know, almost the whole, not almost the whole, but a good chunk of the page to if you want to make a full flap envelope, you're going to need a little space here. So I pretty much just cover the whole page, because when I experimented with the half sheets, I did kind of a half on top, half on bottom, and it wasn't really enough space for the folding. If that makes any sense, you'll see as we move along. So I think I'll do some of the green for some seaweed. These are really pretty colors. I don't use the Tropicals set, this Prima Marketing watercolor set as much for some reason, but the colors sure are pretty. I tend to use the pastel set more. I just really love those. They're really soft. I think that one's my favorite. Okay. Again, no need to get too precious with it. Then maybe I'll do some bubble splatters. I don't even know if that's going to show up on here. Do I want to do blue or purple? Maybe I'll do purple. It's a pretty purple. And I'm giving an extra squeeze to my water brush too, because that almost looks black even, to get it real juicy, because this brush is hard to splatter with, but I'm not about to take another brush, dirty up another brush. Okay, good enough. And really, since any paint seems to work on this paper, you could really kind of go bananas. Like, I almost want to put some gold on here or something, but I'm not going to tonight. Cap on this bad boy. I'm gonna heat this with the dryer for just a second here, so we can get to the folding part. And just move this away from the camera so it's not too loud. I'm really kind of feeling this summer vibe, maybe because we haven't had super warm weather here in the Pacific Northwest. It's been pretty cloudy and cool, which is fine by me. It's supposed to get a little bit warmer by the end of this week. Okay, that's dry now. All right, so I used my card here just as a template. So easy peasy. Take your card. Is it better without the white background? Yeah, I don't need that. Okay, and I'm gonna put it just about here so I have enough room for a good size top and bottom flat. So in case you want to make a full-on envelope, you've got plenty of room. So right about there. And then you're gonna fold. Now I will say, even though we don't need to be precious, we do want to make sure our pages are lined, our edges are lined up. So it just makes life a little easier and a little neater later on. And then what I do, so that I have room to slide my card in and out, I move this over, the card over from this crease about 1/8 of an inch, like really not much at all. And then fold on this side. And it just so happens really with this size paper that I don't need to trim this. You're gonna wanna trim, depending on what size paper, what size dictionary page you have. You just want enough overlap to be able to secure some glue or some tape there for your fold. Does that make sense? This just so, sorry, I'm trying to get a good angle here. This just so happens to work where it overlaps, you know, even more than it really needs to, but I'm not going to bother to trim it. You know, it overlaps about 1/2 of an inch. So, decide, I'm going to cover up that nice, or cover up that not so nice edge here, those little finger marks. Okay, and then you're going to fold your paper this way. Doesn't really matter how far up, depending on what you've put on this side. Maybe you want to pay attention to where the folding is going to be so you can see what's going to be facing out. But I'm just going to put it wherever. Do make sure your edges are lined up. And then I use my card again to figure out about where my crease is. Again, I'm not going quite to the edge at the bottom. I'm leaving 1/8 of an inch or so, and then folding. Okay, now you've got this with your creases that hopefully you can see. If you're using thicker dictionary paper, I recommend getting a bone folder or something and getting a really good crease on that so you can see what you're doing when you cut. For me, I like to cut on the crease up side because I can just see that better. So then you're going to cut away a lot extra here. Did I not fold that one all the way down? Let me just see something real quick. Yeah, it's just not showing up as well. You are 1, 2, 3, 4 corners. And really, I'm not being overly careful. Your top flaps are way too long. I'll trim that down at least halfway. So what you're kind of left with, we're going to do some more trimming, is your little pocket. But we're going to tidy this up just a little bit more. I'm going to trim these down a little bit more. And I left the tops of my pockets open because I just prefer it that way. But I did send out some happy mail recently where I made the whole like mailing envelope this way with thicker cardstock, which PS, if you use an 8x8 inch piece of paper, that some of those packs come in the 8x8. I used a Tim Holtz one. It was the perfect size when you make an envelope this way for mailing. It worked out to be, because it has to be bigger than 3x5 for the mail, for US mail. And I think it worked out to be 3.5 by 5.5, and you can even like tweak that down a little bit if you need to. So I didn't have to do hardly any trimming. It was wonderful. So now let's take a little bit of glue, and I'm just going to use the very, very, sharp edge of this for just a hint of glue. I also, actually, now that I'm doing it, probably not the greatest idea to use an edge that's going to have these little notches in the paper, but whatever, it's fine. Just don't want to get my envelope all stuck on itself. Okay, and then right side up, this would be the bottom one. Okay, and then there's your top flap. So now you've got your little jute. Your little envelope. Ta-da! See how easy was that? Super easy. And you can just go bananas with this. You can decorate. I had grabbed these few things. So like I said, you want to leave it open. Put a little tab so it's easy to get in and out. You can trim it down some so that, the card sticks out. You can put, paste stuff on there, whatever little bits of ephemera you have, draw on it, stamp on it, do whatever you want to, or even leave it plain, because that looks, sorry, technical difficulties here. What I was saying was, or even leave your envelope plain like I did here, because I think it looks pretty great just like that too. So just have fun with it. So thanks for stopping by. It was great to have you here, and I'll see you next time. Bye.